Hello and welcome to Bio 122, Conservation Biology. I'm the instructor of this course, Mrs. Fose. If you're watching this video, that means you made it into Blackboard. Yay. So what this video's goal is to introduce you to the course, the syllabus, and Blackboard. So by the end, you should know what's expected of you. You should be ready to take that syllabus quiz, okay? So we'll start out looking at Blackboard. Announcements will be posted here. I'll try to post one every week reminding you of your responsibilities for the week. And then anything else that comes up, I'll post it there as well. I will also have them sent to your email, so make sure you're checking your student email. Okay, cool. I don't know if I made that sound important enough or not. So you'll come into announcements, and then you'll see getting started, which is where this video will be. You'll see my instructor information. Here's the textbook information. I've got the online bookstore link. I've also got an Amazon link where it's much cheaper to just rent it for the semester, or you can get a used copy to buy for cheaper. This is what the cover looks like. You will need a copy. You will need a copy next week. So make sure you can get that. You'll be behind on assignment. If not, please contact me if this is going to be an issue. Effective study methods. Here's the course competencies and the chapters that we'll cover them in. I think it's really important for a class to understand what you're learning and how everything fits in. Basically, this class has 3 different segments. Looking at the variety of life, looking at the threats to life, and looking at how we manage and preserve life, and the human parts of that. The competencies that we'll look at first, biodiversity, you'll hit case studies in every chapter. This class is all about application. So our lectures aren't going to be that long. It's going to be more about applying that information to real life situations that I care about. Okay? Great. Plagiarism and how to avoid it. I take plagiarism very seriously. I hope that you use external sources when you complete your homework. If you do research on a topic, you're going to understand it better. The issue is if you use information you learned from another site and you do not cite it properly. You must cite any external references you use. And there's information on how to cite here. I don't care if you use APA or MLA, as long as you use one of them and you're consistent. So anytime in homework that you get information from somewhere else, even if you paraphrase it, you must give them credit for that idea. If you do not do so properly, there will be consequences. Every homework assignment you submit will have a plagiarism checker. And if I find anything that's been plagiarized, it'll be a 0. And if this happens twice, you'll fail the class. So please, 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 if you have any questions on citations, if it's necessary or not, I'd be happy to give you feedback on that to make sure that it goes well. I want you to be successful. I just want to make sure you know how important this is. Here's our academic calendar. It'll show you the drop deadline. It'll show you withdrawal dates. So if you go to summer 2018, we are the first 5-week session here. We are at Sky CTC, so I go by their calendar. Other schools are a little bit different. Make sure you're on our page. So you have until May 15th to drop this class. It doesn't get put on your account. You don't get charged. May 22nd is a 50% refund. And then May 30th is the last day to withdraw. If you ask for a withdrawal after that point, I would only consider it for really serious cases where you have like a family emergency or really bad sickness. Not doing well is not an excuse by that point. You need to figure it out by then. Okay? And June 15th will be the last day of classes. That's when your final project will have to be turned in by. Cool. Then let's go back up in Blackboard. Syllabus and calendar. We'll go through the syllabus last. Now let's go into coursework, into weekly modules. So each week will have its own module. I'll keep adding these as we go. So let's click into week 1, and this will have all the homework. I don't know why you did that. I'm not going to check that test right now. On the side here, you'll see there's a table of contents for this week. And these are the items that are introduced. So you'll need to complete the syllabus quiz. I can't stress how important this is to ensure that you're going to do work in this course and that we don't charge people who aren't taking the class. You have to complete the syllabus quiz by Wednesday at midnight. I recommend doing it earlier in case there's any technical difficulties. You'll also see that you have to complete a discussion board, introducing yourself, why you're taking this class. A lot of this class will be about discussions and learning from each other, so you'll have to make sure you go into that. One note though, you have to respond to 3 students. So if you want to work ahead, great, go for it. But realize that you'll have to wait for other people to start the discussion board before you can work ahead there. You'll have lecture videos with weekly content. You'll notice Scientific Method is coming soon. And then there's a link to Chapter 1 through YouTube. This is me discussing the content. And then you have homework. So how this works, okay, I'm going to minimize this table of contents now. But you'll see the assignment information. You're going to need to download this Word document. And then you're going to fill out your answers in here. Okay, open it up. We'll see that happen. And so how I've set it up is there's questions, and then I don't have a lot of space here. So you can make the space however you want. If you want to change text colors for your answer, you can do that. That helps me visually see where your answer is. Make sure that you answer all the questions for full credit. And as you're going through, if you have any questions, please email. You'll notice there are several parts, so make sure that you complete those. Part C, you need your textbook for. So make sure you get that as soon as you can. If you don't have it yet, turn in the first 2 parts and then turn in this late. You'll notice that there are terms from the reading that you have to define. Make sure you use the biologically based definition. Several terms have multiple meanings, and some will be better for biology than others. One example is lumen. So lumen is a couple different things. It is a measure of light, like your flashlight is 40 lumens. The more biologically based answer is the lumen is a hollow space in an organ. Okay, so you'll have to do that critically. And make sure if you don't just know the definition off the top of your head and you look it up somewhere, you cite that source. Okay? I don't grade based on length of answer, rather completeness, but make sure that I can understand how you got that answer and what it means. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back to Blackboard, and then you'll submit that here. Okay, cool. And then you have to select, it will go through the plagiarism tools. I'll check for that. Cool. Awesome. So then, PowerPoints. Each chapter has a PowerPoint. I might update these slightly. It's my goal. So this first week, we're doing the scientific method and conservation biology. Scientific method is not a chapter in your book, but because there are no prereqs for this class as far as science credit goes, I think it's really important to at least briefly mention how science works so that you can have a better understanding as you go through the class, and it'll help you think more critically. Okay, great. Additional materials, resources. If you are in South Central Kentucky, like Bowling Green, there are some local on-campus things in our community. If you're not and you need help, please let me know. I put plagiarism again because I want to make sure you can find how to cite. There are websites that will help you cite for free. I don't care if you use those. I just need you to cite. Other than that, sometimes I find interesting articles or students will send them to me and I like to post them here. So if you want to find other things, check that out. Grades, tools, and help. Okay, let's go through the syllabus. And I will not go super in-depth on this, so make sure you read it. You're responsible for all the information. I'm just going to hit the highlights here. So, my main campus office is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm also available at this phone number, but you need to make an appointment for a phone or in-person meeting. In May, I have office hours every afternoon. So we'll definitely respond to emails every day, Monday through Thursday, while I'm there. I'll also try to respond to emails from home. However, I won't be as consistent, so it'll take me about up to 48 hours to respond on the weekends. So if you're emailing Sunday night about a question, something due Sunday night, you will not get in a response in time unless you're incredibly lucky and I happen to be on. So planning ahead will help you. I want to help you, but if it's an hour before things are due, I really can't promise I'll check my email. I've got an 11-month-old, so I'm trying to get sleep wherever I can. Okay, college contacts, course description, course competencies. You saw on Blackboard where I had the list of how each chapter hits these competencies, and I'll make sure that you get everything out of this class that you're supposed to. So tools, Blackboard's our main tool. You've got links to videos that I post on YouTube, but all of your work will be in Blackboard. Make sure you're checking your email. Make sure you do that first syllabus quiz by Wednesday or you'll be dropped. We looked at the withdrawal date. Make sure you know about your financial aid. If you have any grievances, Mr. Kyle Barron. If you require some sort of extended test taking time, for example, that needs to be documented with your school's success person, ADA person, or ours, and they need to contact me. You cannot contact me on this directly. I need to hear from the school's representative. Expectations on plagiarism and cheating. We've hit this pretty hard. Email etiquette. Okay. It is so important to send a proper email. It reflects so well on you. If you send a poor email, it reflects poorly. Please be professional when emailing me. So this is a comic from phdcomics.com. And you might think, this is silly that she's showing us this. I know how to write an email. And I'm sure you do. It's everyone else that doesn't. But, okay, you need a greeting. Your email should have a heading that the subject line should be applicable so that I know what it's about. You should write full sentences, no abbreviations. Another thing I really appreciate is if you say, I'm having a problem, please be as specific as possible. Because the more specifically you word your problem, the better I can answer your question. If you say, I didn't understand how to do this case study, it's hard for me to respond. But if you say, I was having a problem with question 3, because it states this, I'm thinking that, I can't find the right answer, could you point me in the right direction? I can give you a really good answer. And we're done, instead of this like back and forth of, that's not what I wanted, well, how about this? And the more clear you are, the more clear an answer I can give you. Okay, great. So our stuff is on Blackboard. Blackboard, unfortunately, is in Eastern time. And what I found is if I make it due the next day at 1 a.m., so that it's due midnight Central Time, people think it's due the next day and then it's later, and there's a lot of issues. So I'm just going to say everything in here is due 11:59 p.m. Eastern, unless otherwise stated, but everything should be due 11:59 Eastern. Okay, we've looked at the academic calendar, grade policies, 90 to 100A, and so on. Okay, here's our point breakdown, and this could be a little bit different as the semester goes on. I've never taught this course online during the bi-term, so our point scale may change slightly based on how in-depth we're able to go on everything. So your grade's based on weekly quizzes, weekly case studies, weekly discussion boards, and a few projects. So the first thing that you'll do is an endangered species paper where you're going to research an endangered species and look at how it fits into its environment, what we can do to conserve it. The next one that is introduced this week is service or applied learning. So this is going to be extra credit, where if you volunteer, if you help build a birdhouse, at least 3-hour projects, you'll get 5 points extra credit, up to 10 points total. But realize you need to get pre-approved for projects that aren't on the list on Blackboard. And then last thing is your final will be a management project, where it's like a culmination of everything you've learned in the semester, and you're applying it to either an ecosystem or an endangered species. It should be a really great thing. So we won't have a proctor final. You'll turn this in, and this submission will be showing me what you've learned in the class, 150 points. Okay. Late work, everything's 20% off per day late. So make sure if it's late, get it in as soon as you can, but try to keep up and get things in on time. And here's our course schedule. Everything's due that Sunday of the week unless otherwise listed. And if I do have to make any changes to this, I'll change it. I'll post it on Blackboard and I'll say syllabus updated this day, and I will send out an email to you as well through an announcement. Okay? Welcome to the class. I'm really excited. I think this should be a great semester. Please be in contact. I'll respond to emails if you have any questions. Great.